What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. Super Saturday is just around the corner. We've already done one of the preview videos for the Scotland versus Italy game. You can go check that one out after this one. But this one is about France versus Wales. These, of course, the preview videos where we check out the official teams that have been announced for both sides. Going to be playing on the weekend. We'll have a run through the team sheet, who's some good picks, some bad picks, some thoughts about how we think the teams might play, and finally giving a score prediction. If you enjoy the style of video, make sure to drop the video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop down in the comment section your thoughts on this game, because I feel like this could be a big one. So France last week went on to play England in an absolutely dominant game. They finally got all the pieces together for that one, didn't they? Throughout this tournament, they haven't quite got it nailed down. They played that game against Italy, which was a lot closer than a lot of people expected. The loss to a very good Ireland team, and then a bit of a weird game against Scotland where they both had 14 men and they were sort of up against it and managed to come away with a win. We've waited the entire tournament for France to really get everything slotted together, and it came last week against England. Massive, massive victory. England's third biggest loss ever. And France looked good doing it. So going into this week, there's a lot of talk around that England-Ireland game about what sort of game that will turn out to be. I feel like this one's sort of flown under the radar slightly, because as a Wales supporter, I'm a little bit worried to see how well this France team will do against a Wales team it's still not necessarily firing on all cylinders. So with a team that's been announced for this game, only 2 changes, I think, across the entire 23. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why not? You know, you might as well keep as much of that team in place as possible. Cyril Bay, Julien Marchand, and Antonio coming back into this side. So his red card probation period now over. Antonio comes back in. Now, the forward pack for France was looking good last week. It was weird to sort of learn on the Fantasy League, for anyone who checked out Monday's video, about how many points England got from the scrum for winning scrums against the head in terms of French scrums, because a couple of breakfoot things or penalties not going right for the scrum time. So the forwards themselves were playing extremely well in that game, and the line-out situation was looking good as well. It's just not giving away easy breakdown penalties in terms of the scrummaging and what have you. But this is a solid front three. This is the starting front three France seem to want to bring to every game. Of course, the red card has sort of taken that a little bit away. Well, 2 red cards, sorry. We've had 2 red cards in that tight proposition, but Antonio back in now. In the lock department, Thibaut Flamand, who has just been exceptional this tournament. I am thinking about doing a sort of top 5 players from the Six Nations that have impressed me. And he's already written down. I've already got his name down because he's just been exceptional in every single round. The idea that you can lose someone like Cameron Vogie and just replace him with Flamand, and it just doesn't miss a beat. It almost feels like it's gotten better. Flamand's been truly exceptional this Six Nations. I'm extremely impressed with how he's done. Taufifenua coming in the number 5 shirt, though. Valemsa not in this game. I can't actually remember if he picked up a knock in that game against England. Like, I have no memory of him taking an injury. He may well have done, though. That might be why the change is going. But Roman Taufifenua, massive, massive individual, getting onto the pitch. Now, the Wales line-out, we know has been shaky. Ken Owens' throwing throughout the tournament not always been the best. Some of the catching in terms of line-out not been the best either. Putting someone like Roman Taufifenua in, especially just chuck him in the front, he's about 6'8". That is a lot of human being to throw the ball over cleanly every single time at the line-out. I don't think that's a bad player to have going in that team at all. In the back row, Francois Cross, Charles Olivon, and Gregory Aldrit, all 3 of them doing exceptional against England. Charles Olivon, there's been a lot of talk around his try, which I was quite surprised there's so much talk around his try, actually. I thought it was a well-worked try. I expected that ball as soon as Marcus Smith got dragged over his try line. It's sort of one of the rules that if you know a lot about rugby, you're sort of waiting for it. As soon as that ball crosses that white line, it's anyone's fair game to just jump on that ball. Superb game awareness for me for Charles Olivon to get his try. Gregory Aldrit finally having an opportunity to show what he brings to this tournament. We haven't got to see him open up into this tournament at all yet. That game against England was the first time we really got to see him, and he had a great performance. So overall, 1-8, France looking extremely strong. In the halfback partnership then, Antoine Dupont alongside Roman Antamac yet again. I saw a couple of people's team of the weeks and stuff across the board. Dupont seems to be in there, even though I think Rhys Webb had a really good game for Wales, actually. Dupont's still the number 1 scrum half choice on a lot of people's team of the weeks. In the centre partnership, Jonathan Darnty goes in alongside Gael Ficou. Man, did Jonathan Darnty make an impression in that game as well. Felt like he really shut down so much of what England were building in terms of the attack over the last few games. Jonathan Darnty just running out of the line every time, tackling whoever's ahead of him, ball in hand. He's running through people. Massive, massive danger runner. And seeing what we got to see with Ollie Lawrence do against Wales in the England-Wales game, and knowing what Jonathan Darnty brings to the French side, I can see him having a very similar sort of game, so I'm expecting him to have a big one against Wales. And then finally in that back three, Dumortier, Damien Penaud and Thomas Ramos, who I think, has this been the three now throughout the entire tournament? I believe throughout the entire tournament it's been the same back three, and they have been really well. I'm still sort of waiting for Dumortier to open up. He's been playing well, he's got massive meters under his name. I just haven't quite had that little spur of the moment to get to see him explode. Damien Penaud, last week, quiet for a lot of the game. The ball wasn't getting out to him. He didn't have a lot of work to do. He was doing a lot of tackles on his wing. But what a way to end a game off. 10 minutes at the end. 2 tries, just running away with it. Some superb play between the team. Entermac getting the offload, the crossfield kick out to him. One-on-one with Dombrandt. Man, what a hard ask for Alex Dombrandt after playing a full 80 to get across and chase down Damien Penaud. About 20 metres of room to cover. Superb tries for Damien Penaud, and that's why he's in this team. He can be quiet for a whole game, and then once you give him that opportunity, he does make the most of it. Ramos, again, having another extremely good game. Kicking duty's been phenomenal. So France this year have had an extremely good team. They'll be quite annoyed, actually, not to be sat at the top of this Six Nations board. They've had such a good team. They're looking at this World Cup, and this team is certainly building towards it. Solid 1 through 15. In terms of the replacements, there's not a lot to talk about here. It's pretty much the same as last week. Mavaka, Wardy, and Falatea going to be going on in that second half. Now, a new name for me, Bastien Chaleroux. Having a guess at pronunciation, France is not always my best pronunciation of names. Feel free to drop down a phonetic spelling for me to help me improve. I don't know a lot about Chaleroux, so looking forward to see him get on this pitch. And finally, Sekou Makalu. So going for the 5-3 split this week. Now, I did wonder, against Wales, their defensive maul has looked shaky at times. The line-out's not looked the best. The set piece feels like an area France could exploit a lot. I wondered whether they would go for a 6-2 and just look to just muscle Wales over and over and over again. Look for breakdown penalties, looking for those tries. Wales have been trying to get on the front foot a little bit more. We got to see an improvement in that Italy game. I might have lent more towards a 6-2 here rather than a 5-3, but we'll have to see how those backs can perform. Some of them last week, once they were given an inch of room to work with, they absolutely made the most of it. And then in the replacement backs, Maxime Loukou, Mofana, and Jaminet, who did last week come on for Romain Ntamack, and then he did a swap with Thomas Ramos. So nice to know how they're trying to set up their team. I think it worked well for them. Jaminet wasn't on for a great deal of the game, got 1 try assist with the pass out to Damien Penaud as well. So they're working well together, and the idea that you can have this sort of depth in a France team to be having red cards and have people go out with injuries, and it doesn't feel like they're missing a beat, really. I think this is a solid France team, and I think they'll be looking for a big game at home versus a Wales team. We'll talk about Wales, start off with Wales versus Italy last week. In probably Wales' best performance of the tournament, but I feel like as a Wales supporter, I give Wales a bit more of a hard time than some of the other teams. I'm still not 100% convinced by the final performance in that game. The scoreline going their way, looked a little bit comfortable towards the end. I still feel like they got a little bit lucky with a couple of them. I definitely think the bounce of the ball, the coverage in the backfield from Bruno, not the best for Rio Dyer's try. Liam Williams did exceptionally well to get through 5 defenders to score a try, but you shouldn't really be able to get a try there. They had 1 penalty try, which most likely probably would have been a try, and a couple of refereeing decisions that I absolutely feel that went their way. I was very surprised to see Owen Williams got away with the little push in the back of the players. A couple of players also just running into Italian attackers completely off the ball and things not getting picked up. One of the scrums really looked like there was the Welsh prop was literally crawling along the ground, and it got given as a Wales penalty. I think they got a little bit lucky with some of the referees' calls last week, but it was their best performance. The attacking structure looked better, quicker recycling of the ball, going through the forwards, supporting the man, something we've been waiting for in Wales for a lot of this tournament to really get going. The attack looked better, the surging looked better through the forwards. But there were still issues for me in this Wales team. So going into this week, a big game. France at home is a really tough ask. We've had some really good fixtures between these two sides in the past, but Wales have made a lot of changes to the side, as we've sort of seen through the tournament, big changes for every single game. But this is a bit more of the standard Wales team, I guess most people would come to expect from like a Warren Gatland side or a Pivac side even. So starting out in this front row, Wyn Jones, Ken Owens, Tom Francis. And I see Wyn Jones is still in there. That sort of elbow from Pierre Bruno, just very, very silly, getting right into the face. I mean, that's the sort of thing that can ruin you out for a game. I don't think Wyn Jones came back on after that either. So nice to see that he's still back in this side. In the lock department, Adam Beard and Alan Wyn Jones. That's the 4-5 we've seen so much under Gatland, not just across Wales, but in the Lions as well. They've gone back to it. I think David Jenkins was actually having an okay game. Adam Beard probably had his best performance of the tournament for me against Italy. Getting some big tackles in the breakdown and being able to just twist himself in such a way that it just allows an easier jackal for some of his other teammates. I thought he had a much better game last week. In the back row then, some big calls here. Aaron Wainwright's coming in the blindside flanker, Justin Tipperick at open side, and Faletau at number 8. Now, Aaron Wainwright coming back in, especially in the flank position as well. I did see a game for him a couple of weeks back for the Dragons. I saw him score his try. And I thought he's looking quite in form. He might be looking to see if he get back in this Wales team. Interesting to see him starting, though, in that blindside flanker. No Jack Morgan again. And I remember a couple of weeks ago bringing up no Jack Morgan in the side. I think he's still doing extremely well. I've had a quick look online. I couldn't see anything to do with an actual injury ruling him out for this game. He's not on the bench either. So Aaron Wainwright just getting the pick straight away over the top of him. Aaron Wainwright, for me, is one of those players that can do exceptionally well coming on from the bench because he can play 6 or 8. Tommy Raffel's also been kept on that bench as well. You know what, we'll see how this goes because Faletau had a good game last week as well, getting supported, got his try, and Justin Tipperick doing some good work at the breakdown as well. So we'll see how this gets on. I might have liked to have seen Jack Morgan there if he's fit. If you do know that he's picked up an injury, feel free to drop it down in the comment section. I couldn't find anything about it just before filming this video as it stood. In the halfback partnership, Rhys Webb retains at scrum half alongside Dan Biggar coming back at fly half. Now, Rhys Webb, I said in the preview video last week, I don't know if I would particularly rate Rhys Webb's kicking over Thomas Williams. Wow, did I get proven wrong last week? Rhys Webb, superb in terms of just having awareness of the pitch, picking some really nice kicks, not necessarily just kicking for the sake of it or just kicking because it's part of the plan, but instead having a bit of awareness, looking over, seeing Bruno slightly out of position, get a little box kick over the top, put them on the back foot, do some grabber kicks. That's nice to see, putting pressure on the other team. Even if it doesn't lead to a try, you pin the other team back in their own 22. They don't just get to call the mark and you make them play out or kick the ball back to you. It's really well worked. I was really happy to see Rhys Webb have a good game for Wales, and I'm glad he's still there. I would absolutely be starting him this week, given that performance we got to see from him last week. Dan Biggar coming back in as well. Probably just an experienced front going up against France. I assume France are going to come very hard at this game. Owen Williams, I'm still liking the style he plays in. It's a little bit slower. It's a little bit more organised. Dan Biggar can sometimes feel a little bit rushed and a bit eager to sort of get going. Along with, I've seen a lot of people doing comments about, I don't know, how vocal he is, should we say, towards other players and the referee and stuff. But I think an experienced head against France, maybe a better room to go for and bring Owen Williams on for a bit of impact later on. I did see that Patchell got named in one of the training sides, and I wonder whether he would have slipped back in there. But Dan Biggar taking the starting shirt. In the centre partnership, Nick Tompkins at 12, George North at 13. This is a pair we've seen for a good while now. Nick Tompkins getting the start, which I am looking forward to. I do rate Nick Tompkins. There was a couple of mixed views on his last game once he came on for the bench. I thought he was doing pretty well defensively. A couple of people thought he was doing terribly defensively. So we all have a difference of opinion. It's one of the joys of rugby, but I'm looking forward to see him back in. Mason Grady, I don't feel we got to see a lot from, given he had a couple of games for Wales. I didn't really see him sort of explode. Still a bit young, still low on caps. I'm sure he'll have room to grow. George North, a bit more experience. It's going to be a tough centre battle. Gael Ficou and Jonathan Dante coming up against Nick Tompkins and George North. I think you've got sort of opposite numbers not quite matching up. I think like Jonathan Dante and George North, they're just going to clash into each other. Nick Tompkins and Gael Ficou will be there for supporting defensively and stuff. I'm looking forward to see how that centre battle goes on, but I'm leaning slightly more towards the French setup at the minute. Then in the back three, Rio Dyer retains left wing, Josh Adams on the right wing, and Rhys Sammet moving to full back, of course. Liam Williams picking up his injury in the last game as well. There was a couple of talks around how they would organise this. I always still feel like I would like to see Josh Adams move to the fullback shirt, knowing he also can play there, and have Rees-Zammit on the wing. I feel like Rees-Zammit's such an attacking threat. You just want him at the line at all times. I feel like defensively, though, I would probably have Rio Dyer as down as the worst defensively out of the three of them, so maybe you'd want him at Rees-Zammit on that wing for the defensive element. Halfpenny also on the bench, can come on at fullback or wing. Maybe I would have liked to have seen one of them start and bring on someone later on for the speed aspect, maybe a Rees-Zammit or Josh Adams later on. But Rees-Zammit, for me, at the minute, is Wales's real big attacking threat versus big teams. He seems to be the only one that looks like at any point he can just run and score a try. So put him at fullback. He'll be hoping for some counter kicks. France have been doing quite a few kicks in their last few games, but the kicks they're doing are very well weighted. I'm not sure whether Rees-Zammit will get as much counter running as he'll be expecting to, but any long kicking battles, we might be seeing Rees-Zammit, rather than kicking it back to them, actually running it back and just looking for the space in the defensive line to have a little bit of a break. In terms of the replacements then, Bradley Roberts alongside of Gareth Thomas and Dylan Lewis. Scott Baldwin also went out with his injury, so Bradley Roberts coming in now in that hooker position. Hooker's getting knocked out a little bit in this Wales side as well. Still no Debbie Lake in the side either through his injury. David Jenkins and Tommy Raffel are going to be the replacement forwards. They've gone for the 5-3 split as well, matching up with France. Will be interesting to see which forwards gets tired first. Ireland sort of showed off in the Ireland-France game about how much you can just sort of wear out the French forwards. They're big units. They will tire. Will Wales be able to make the most of that? And the way they've been kicking the ball just over and over and over again, trying to put pressure back on the other team. It'll be fun to see how France deal with that pressure, whether they just engage in the kicking battle or whether they're just comfortably thinking we can run this out and back our own breakdown situation to not concede penalties. And then in the replacement backs, Thomas Williams, Owen Williams, and Lee Halfpenny. I'm not sure about necessarily impact from the bench from these three players. Thomas Williams will probably have looked at that game last week and thought, I need to actually be up in my game. Hopefully he'll make an impact when he comes on for the bench. Owen Williams, with the style of 10 he plays, I don't know if I see him necessarily making an impact into this game. I feel like he could come on and hold the ship as it's going. And Lee Halfpenny, again, I don't think he's going to come on and necessarily make the game explode and open up. He'll come on and sort of see the game out. So as this game goes on, given what the French replacements are going to be bringing on, I feel like France actually might gradually get better as this game goes on, and Wales might sort of peak and then have to stay flatline and just see if they can hold it out. So in terms of a score prediction for this game, oh man, what do we think? Of all the games this weekend, this is probably the one I'm least looking forward to be fair. France putting, 50-odd points on England. And now they're playing at home. They've got that advantage as well. They seem to be firing on all cylinders. I doubt they'll make as many mistakes as Italy made against Wales last week. It's got to be a France win for me. I'll say France to win by 18. I feel like that's big, and yet I have no idea anymore with how France is scoring. It could go well beyond look at what happened against England. But that's going to be my prediction for the preview video. Guys, make sure you drop down in the comment section your predictions for this game, because there's going to be some wild scores, no doubt. And also your thoughts on the team, because it's always nice to hear what you guys have to say. Make sure you are getting your picks up on Superbrew before Saturday kicks off. It's a whole day of it. We are also planning on doing a couple of other videos. I'm going to be doing a review video after the Ireland-England game, no matter which way it goes, because we'll actually know who the winner of the tournament is by the end of that. And I'm sure that'll be a fun game to do a review for. And then, of course, we'll be doing the World Rankings video on Monday alongside of the Superbrew results and seeing who gets crowned as champion. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.